And you've just heard Inside Your Mind by Finlay Birch, which is a recent single from Finlay's album Wait Will Unwind, which is coming out on Friday this week. And I'm joined by Finlay now. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Really good, thank you. Really good. So the album's coming out Friday. It's your debut album.
Yes. Yep.
So there'll be people listening to this who, want to make a record and just don't know where to start. So I was interested, where did you start? How did this album come about?
Gosh, well, it kind of came about from living on Mull, to be honest. A lot of these songs on the album, they're over 8 years old. I
Wow.
grew up in Greenock and I left school to go and study playing bass. And I went down to Brighton to do a songwriting degree. And it was kind of at that point I started really taking on my songwriting. So to like answer the question, it's taken a long time, but I felt like being on Mull, it sort of brought forward the sort of feelings of what I wanted to do with my music next. And after COVID, I had a little bit of a lull where I wasn't writing, and just something about Mull made me start writing again. And my best friend Dylan Cooper, who produced the album, um, I just ended up reaching out to him, and that was kind of the start of the whole collaboration. Um, and yeah, and at my work, which is Antober Mall Theatre, I basically said, would it be possible at some point for me to take some holiday and record an album? And that was kind of the start of the whole conversation and place of how it started happening.
That's so interesting because I think being in the right place at the right time can be such an important thing. And I know that there's a real creative community on Mull and particularly around the theatre. So
Yes.
was all of that feeding into what you wanted to do?
I think so. Mull has a very strong, like, sort of musical history. Like at my work, there's been like Laura Marling that's played there, and just like the feel of the whole place was just really inspiring. There's like Mull Music Festival that happens. There's also like Iona Music Festival, and there's just a really sort of strong creative community. And when I sort of arrived there, Mull's a lovely place in a way that everyone gets to know each other really well. I moved from Edinburgh um, before, and I worked at like the Playhouse, and it's obviously a city has a totally different feeling creatively. You need to kind of get into those groups, whereas on Mull, it's like everybody sort of comes to you. And then I think it makes you sort of question where you want to go with your art and your music and whatever you're doing, visual art, writing books. A lot of people write books on Mull, and for me being in that place, it made me go, actually what I really want to do is get these songs out that have been with me for almost a decade, and sort of bookmark sort of my stamp, I guess, of like my artistic sort of where I want to go with my art, I guess. So yeah.
I because I think people instinctively would say if you're in one of the big cities where there's lots of musicians and lots of groups, people making music, Edinburgh being, a prime example of that, that would be the place to make your music. But having listened to your music, it feels to me like that they're quite personal songs.
Mhm.
You probably have to think about them, even though they've been written for a while. You're going back to them and reassessing them and all that, and kind of headspace that you might not get in a city, but you will get on Mull. Is that
Yeah.
part of it?
Totally. I mean, like the themes of the album are about, I mean, the title track, Inside Your Mind, it's about loosening sort of weight that sort of it's sort of hanging over you sort of over a period of time. And a lot of these songs are super personal. I mean, I Want You is following that idea of like wanting somebody, but realizing that maybe they're not good for you, you don't need them. Obviously wrote that when I was a teenager. And then, Inside Your Mind is one I wrote probably about 3 years ago. That one is about wanting to sort of meet someone in the middle, trying to understand the way that they think and you think differently. And sort of trying to find a place mentally where you both connect. And then obviously some of the more recent songs, like Wait Will Unwind, they're just more mature, I guess, in a different way lyrically, and it's about sort of that listening and sort of understanding of time and how, sort of take a breath and sort of take things in. And that's probably set by the pace of Mull being able to,
Yeah,
like, for me, being able to reconnect to those songs.
yeah,
Because yeah, it's almost a whole period of my life, really.
yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
something I think is sometimes underrated, maybe particularly with music. But there is a reason that people go to writers' retreats. There's a reason why people go to the islands to record or to rehearse or whatever it might be. And it is, I think, to just have that time to think about what they're doing. And I was going to ask you what your songwriting process was, but I'm guessing if some of these songs have been with you for almost a decade, that's changed over the years,
That's a really good question. My process is actually a little bit unusual, and it's always kind of been the same. I remember
right?
like talking about it when I was down in Brighton. And for example, Dylan writes in kind of more of a typical way where he'll think of what he wants to write about. He'll then come up with the chords, and then he'll sort of form the song. Whereas for me, I usually, because I'm originally a bass player, I
Mm,
actually was a session bass player in Brighton and a session guitarist for a little bit. I usually write on the guitar first, find the sort of sound that I like, then start thinking of a melody, and then afterwards come up with the lyrics, which is a little bit weird, but it's the way that works for me, and it's actually like never really changed. I'm thinking about all of the songs on the album. And most of them, I think almost all of them have been written that way, but obviously at different periods of my life. But yeah, that's kind of
And,
my process.
and how was the album recorded?
Well, that's that's the sort of fun bit of the whole album is that it's kind of been recorded in three or four different places
Right.
to make its way sort of together. So, as I said earlier, like I messaged Dylan, who's based down in Brighton. He was actually ironically working on a Sugar Babes album, so he's a full-time producer.
Right.
Um, and I sent him a few demos that I recorded to click tracks digitally on a program called Logic, and then we started sort of building some of the songs. He'd send me those back. So it sort of started out remotely and collaboratively. It was extremely different to how it ended up when Dylan came up to Mull. But at the start, it was just all remote, us sort of sending demos back and forth to each other. Then I moved to a farm on Mull called Cranach. Shout out to Cranach. But that's when I started really writing some of the sort of final songs of the album. And that's when I said to Dylan, I really want to do a full album. And I started to pop the ideas to him. Um, and I think I might have, it was on my social media anyway, but I've actually tried recording with Dylan before when I was in Brighton.
Okay.
And he used to live in a granny annex at the bottom of a garden in a little town called Stenning. And something about it back then, we actually recorded a few of the songs like I Want You. It didn't actually work. But for
Okay.
some reason, when we've come together and we're older, it's really, really like it really worked. And so I popped the idea to him. I was at this farmhouse on Mull. That's when I sort of came up with the title track and the idea of the album. Dylan came up to Mull for 10 days and we recorded some of it in a barn at Cranach, which was a bit of a challenge because it's a farm and it's got a tin roof in the barn that we were in. So there was rain, there was peacocks, there was just like loads of animals, what you can imagine when you imagine a Hebridean farm. And then very luckily my work let me record like in the live performance room, which just as I said before, it has like an amazing feeling about it because there's just been loads of great albums recorded in there with Soren McLean, Gordon McLean from before. More recently, there's been some other sort of artists that are secret that are have been recording a few things. We've had people performing in there like Laura Marling and stuff. So it had a real live feel, and that's where all of the drums and the guitars were recorded. So it's all done digitally, but it was sort of done remotely on a farm and then in a proper sort of live room. So the process was really interesting.
It's
But
absolutely fascinating. Now, just so I can get this clear in my own head, it's a farm barn that you're talking about.
yes, yes,
So it's a working farm.
a
Now,
working farm.
and I know I have family who are farmers. These are noisy places.
Yes,
You
yep,
throw in peacocks into there, these are noisy birds. I know
yep.
that for a fact. I mean, do they make it? Are they kind of ambient in the, how do you
Uh,
do it?
Honestly, I don't know how Dylan, he must have edited out some of the peacocks because, as you know, they're so loud. So we would actually wait sometimes for the peacocks to stop and then we would record, which was really good fun. And there's a song on the album called The River that was totally done live. I think there were some peacocks in the back of that, but they must have been edited out. But that was done with Sam and Daisy, who are worth mentioning, and they did the backing vocals on The River. So it's got a sort of big choral sound on that song, and it's because there's four-part harmonies from me, Dylan, Sam, and Daisy, and they run the farm. But yeah, the peacocks were kind of kept out of it
Oh,
as much as
fantastic.
possible. Yeah.
And are there other people involved as well, or is it just basically yourself and the people you've mentioned?
Really, I mean, that's really been it. I mean, me and Dylan, we played all of the tracks are live. There's not really any samples at all. So the process as well, I should have mentioned, was quite interesting in that we just would do full live takes.
Right.
And part of that was because we wanted a sort of live, loose sound for the whole album. But there wasn't a lot of editing, or I think really, I mean, probably his editing was taking those peacocks out, but really, there wasn't a lot of editing in terms of the actual individual takes of the bass, the guitar, the drums. They're all live and just layered. And me and Dylan really played most of them. Really, Dylan played most of it. I mean, he's a really good drummer. The track Inside Your Mind really shows off his drumming abilities, just really, really gets into it. So
I'm going to have to go and listen to some of the tracks again with my headphones on and really see if I can hear any ambient beasts in the background. That's so good. But again, it's that idea of the right
yeah.
place to kind of do these songs. And if they include songs that you'd written, a long time ago when we all change over the years.
Mhm.
What was it like to go back to those earlier songs?
It
Because
was,
that's a great insight, a bit like a diary entry. It's a great insight into the person
yeah,
you were back then.
no, totally. I mean, as you know, like it's really about Dylan said you've really got to perform the songs because when I would play them live, really sort of feel them again because some of the songs obviously I don't feel how I would have felt in that moment when I was 19 and I wrote that or
Yeah,
in writing. But yeah, it was quite actually easy once the process started because we recorded the whole album over 10 days, which was really intense. It was a
yeah,
track
I
a
bet.
day. For all 10 songs. And I did find that it was quite easy to fall back into those places that I was in before. And it was just about that whole theme of just like realizing it's about time and just feeling the songs and really getting into them. And because they were live takes for each track, it was, I really had to push myself to really feel those feelings again, which was nice. So yeah.
It's a really interesting dynamic having songs that have been with you for a long period of time and then recording those songs over a really short period of time. And I
Yes.
think that must feed into the final album.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was a condensed period of time, and part of that was just limitations because of, how much holiday I had, the time of year it was, just how busy we both are. Dylan produces loads of different artists. And he actually had a baby on the way at the time. So it was like we really had to, it sort of pushed us in a way that I think was really powerful because I think when we started out remotely, we were just sending back and forth and back and forth and back and forth tracks. And I think that sort of confined period of time of 10 days, it really made us go, this is it, and sort of make decisions that we might not have made as quickly. Um, but yeah, it was great. And afterwards, obviously, it was quite dramatic, like, Dylan going away on the ferry at the end of the 10 days. And it was like, oh my God, like I've done an album in 10 days. I didn't know that was possible. But yeah, it was great. It was really good fun.
And when you have that, that's a great image of the producer leaving on the ferry. But do you then,
Goodbye.
was it like, oh yeah, we've done it? Or is it like, what have we done? You got to reflect upon it as well.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, there was a little bit of a feeling of a rabbit in the headlights of sort of like, oh my God, what have we managed to do? But there was also a really amazing feeling of we've done this. And for me, with my previous songs, I just produced them myself, like over COVID. Um, and I'd never had a full body of work like this that I've just felt really, really proud of.
Yeah.
And because Dylan is so good at production, and we just really clicked because we're best friends in terms of the collaboration and the instrumentation, just doing everything together. It just, yeah, when he was going away on that ferry, I felt very happy. So it's good. I would do it again. I hope to do it again next year. So
I'm
yeah.
just thinking, you saying it was a kind of intense period, but the
Mm.
songs don't feel rushed in any way. In fact, I would say the opposite of that. They kind of unfold at, I guess, the pace you want them to. And it made me think, who influences your music? Who influences your style? Perhaps even your songs.
Yeah. Well, for me, like for a lot of people as well, it'd probably be the same. But like I love the Velvet Underground, and I love like Lou Reed, and I think that sort of um late. I don't want to say like laziness, but there's sort of a lull smoothness to like Lou Reed's voice that I really love.
Yeah.
And I love Mac DeMarco, like more recent artists like him. Like I really like the War on Drugs and sort of these sorts of, I don't know how you put them, but just sort of like laid back sort of singing styles and the way that they play. It's not regimented in the same way as some other artists. And it's funny, I was really into, I'd say that probably the most regimented song is probably Inside Your Mind. And I think it's because when I wrote that song, I was really into Frightened Rabbit, which I'm sure a lot of Scottish
Yeah.
artists and songwriters are. Um, and I just love the way that that band would make a really massive sound. I saw them a few times live back in the day, and just yeah, such a good band. And yeah, I'm trying to think who else inspired me. I love Squeeze. I remember seeing Squeeze at the Glasgow Bandstand with my dad. That was my first gig because I
Wow.
was obsessed with Squeeze when I was younger.
I mean, I think still, even though people who love them absolutely love them, and I certainly do,
Yeah.
some of the most underrated songwriting you'll get.
Mm,
And particularly some of the later stuff, actually, which, just amazing, amazing songwriters.
absolutely. The last one who I would say massively inspired me is probably Paul Buchanan. I
Mm.
absolutely love Paul Buchanan. And yeah, another amazing Scottish artist in the Blue Nile are just out of this world. Hats is like one of the best albums ever made.
My favorite album. Absolutely. If people
It-
ask me, sometimes you have to think about certain things. What's your favorite book? When it comes to favorite album, I have the same, and I have done since it came out. It is just great, and I can see that it's interesting because some of the singers you're talking about there, it is laid back, at times almost conversational, almost speaking rather than sung, which is such an interesting kind of way of doing it. And I can feel that laid back aspect to your work, I think, is absolutely there. And and we're going
Oh,
to hear the title track of the album, Wait Will Unwind, in a moment. But I wanted to ask you, because you've worked in the arts and kind of culture for a long time. You've worked at Beacon Arts, Lewis Press, the publishers. You're now working in Mull. Um, what changes have you seen? Because it's a big conversation. It's probably too big a conversation for us to condense. But do you know what I mean? There have been a lot of changes over those years.
oh yeah, totally. I mean, I over COVID, it's really when I got into like, so I work in marketing. I'm the marketing manager on Mull. And I used to work in record labels down in Brighton. Obviously, COVID came. It's kind of a story that I think a lot of artists would tell, and a lot of the jobs went away. And I then went and studied a master's in Edinburgh at Queen Margaret University, and then start my first job after that was at Lewis Press. And I think like things are still rebuilding
Yeah.
after COVID, even now. I think, I mean, that everybody knows there's funding problems just across the whole sector. Um, but what I would say that's a positive that I think has come from that, particularly in smaller, like local arts venues like Beacon Arts or my work, Cantober Theatres, there's a lot more collaboration that's had to come out of it. And I think a lot of groups that maybe wouldn't have communicated with each other, collaborated, have had to sort of think of ways to come together to like make the best use of the current landscape that we're all sort of working in. But I think, yeah, I guess the biggest thing that I've noticed is just that working in the arts funding has always been a bit of an issue after COVID, and I think that the best thing out of it is that people have really had to come up with more and more creative ideas of how they make the best use of what we have really at the moment. But I used to work as well at the Playhouse, and I would say that my favorite job, like favorite place to work, is like in the smaller and smaller venues, just because in terms of like my job, obviously my favorite bit is when you do sell a show and then you get to go see it and you see how the audience reacts to a show and how they enjoy it. And particularly on Mull, it's like that barrier's taken
Yeah.
away because it's like a room of 20 people and that's all you can fit in, or 30 people. And I'm actually booked to do a gig of my music in September, which I'm really excited to do. And I played, it's actually quite a funny little gig, but I played an exhibition opening on Mull, and it's one of the best gigs I've ever done. And I've played loads of pubs, used to play in Brighton, all of this. But honestly, playing in to a smaller crowd and even just working in the arts with smaller crowds, it's you get a lot more out of it
Yeah.
because I guess that, as I say, that barrier, you really see how they feel about it.
Yeah.
It's like when there's thousands of people and you can kind of, there's a divide between the stage and those people. It's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I agree with you. I think those smaller venues, there's something magical can happen from that you maybe can't get in a
mm,
larger shared experience. That's my experience anyway. But that brings us on to playing live. We haven't spoken about you playing live. So you've got this gig coming up.
yes,
Um, have you got other plans?
I plan on hopefully fundraising for a tour. Um, so that's kind of pending and that will be announced. But I would love to do a tour of those venues that we were talking about. I actually attended a conference like a couple of months ago called The Gathering, which is the Highland Touring Network. And it's all the sort of community halls of the Highlands and
Yeah.
stuff. And it just made me realize I would love to play a lot of those venues because originally I was looking at just playing, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Inverness, and like planning a sort of fundraising for those. And I'd love to play those. I'd love to play anywhere really.
Yeah.
But, it just made me realize why not just go to the really small, crazy, funky places that maybe, a lot of artists don't get to play.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I'm quite excited for that. So I'm gonna see where and how far I can get with, planning a tour, but long term I'd love to do that.
Okay. Well, when you have dates, let us know and we'll let the listeners know. But Finlay, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's a great album. I really love your songs. So it's been great to talk to you about them.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's an amazing show and I really appreciate you letting me come on. It's been
Oh,
brilliant.
thank you. And this is Finlay Birch and the title track of the album, Wait Will Unwind.